guys good?
Yeah.
All right, welcome back to Watching the Wild. We're on episode 9, and we're going into a little bit of stuff that I think we've all been at least moderately excited about. We've touched on a couple past episodes, going to try to bring it to a head a little bit. Kind of wildlife management, our perspectives, some of the current issues we see with this perspective that a lack of management is appropriate when, we just don't really think it works that way. So I guess we'll start off with a prayer. Dan, would you mind?
You got it. Father, thank you for another great day. Thank you again for the resources and this your created wonder that you've given to us to oversee and to respect and to enjoy. Father, we are so very blessed for the warm weather that we've had lately. Thank you for traveling mercies and everyone that got here. We just pray for your holy presence here tonight and help us to impact and further your kingdom. Lord, we pray all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Well, Dan sent us an article yesterday, I believe, that was pretty interesting that we were discussing a little bit before the episode. So why don't you give us a little background on that?
So this is, admittedly, I don't ever pay attention to my Google feed, and it was number one on there when, Ryard, you'd sent out human-animal interactions, and it was, so there was a wolf shot just outside of Yellowstone, and it piqued my interest because from, everything's headlines nowadays, and it was Rising Star Poached Yellowstone Wolf. And like this wolf had a name, right? And then you read the article and you find out that it's, anyways. There's a lot of, we'll call it emotion in the article, and I'll kind of boil it down to the facts. Where the wolf was illegally shot. It was outside of the park, which was legal. However, the quota was filled for the area that it was in, and so the wolf was shot, and then the hunters went and or whoever shot it, I should say, tried to hide the collar up in a tree, and it was discovered, and now there's if I remember correctly, there's like a $36,000 reward or something like that for for information leading to the rest of the poacher. So for me, there's a lot of interesting facts in there, and believe me, I'm not going to empathize. You need to know the laws before you pull the trigger. That is, the cost of hunting, or fishing for that matter. You need to know the laws and the rules. But in these quota areas, and for those of us in North Dakota, we have a mountain lion season for the western part of the state. It's what river? Is it a highway or a river that it's west of? Is it the Little Missouri?
I'd have to look at the map.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it. Anyways, so there's 2 zones in North Dakota, and if you're east of, if you're in the eastern zone, there is no season. You just have to have a fur bear license.
There's a season.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. There's
not
a season.
A quota.
We're
There's not a quota.
people now.
Sorry.
Come on. Take everything else he says with a grain of salt.
Yeah, email Gentry Holland.
We're not doing it. Not taking the blame.
So, anyways, back to the I'm trying to put myself in this hunter's shoes. You're legally hunting in a time that you are, whether you or shouldn't have known that the season could be open, but the quota, and I think the quota was 3, and there was 3 wolves that had been taken already, and so the season was closed, right? So it wasn't nearly as cut and dried as what the article pointed out, and I just thought it was a good discussion item to bring up here, and want to get your guys' thoughts.
I guess one thing I got something on my mind. So I guess Matt and Ryer, you guys probably know more about this than my dad, but the quota thing, I've always seen how is there
wow.
No.
I'm just gonna glaze right back.
Dunce. I'll disown it.
You're grounded. I'll just do it for him.
I'm
You're grounded.
Oh, No fishing this weekend.
Anyway, go on. I like how you're
So
going
like
with
the
that.
quota thing, I've never seen how that. I guess I don't know how fast like the Game and Fish or the Fishing Game or whatever the state has updates the like. I assume there's like a website or something you go to like how fast they update when animal's been taken out of whatever quota. Because like I don't know if it's like you shoot something on the same day as someone else and then one of you two is won over the quota. Like, how does that work? Does someone get in trouble for that, or? I guess
because it's happened.
Yeah, I would assume it's happened. I just can't imagine how. I can't imagine how it would have happened.
In our case in North Dakota, I believe with lions in the Western unit, you have to call that in immediately. Mm-hmm. You know, as soon as you get cell service, whatever.
Yep.
But essentially immediately, and then that information goes out. Yeah. And I think there's a website you can check.
Well, they have
each
it in
day.
They have it in their. I don't know. I'm sure there's a website. I know they have it in their text alerts because I'll get the text at some point every year that'll say like the quota for the West region's been filled or whatever. I don't know exactly what the details are, but there's a similar thing in Montana. They have in a couple of units down. I believe it's kind of around Bozeman. They have what's called the unlimited sheep tag, which is, I believe, the only over-the-counter sheep tag in North America. It's not as fancy as it sounds. So, like, you know, usually sheep tags, super expensive, coveted, whatever. These tags, the units are in generally really rough, steep terrain, hard to get to stuff. And they have quotas like 1 or 2 sheep per unit. But anybody can hunt them. Like, you can go buy a tag.
Even as an out-of-stater? Like
I would have to double check on non-residents. I would assume yes, because I'm pretty sure I've seen like Onyx or Go Hunt or whatever put out stuff about the unlimited sheep tag. But basically, you know, from my understanding, the hunt happens before the hunt, and it's usually that first day most of the time because these guys are going in there and they're scouting for a week and they're getting on sheep, and then shooting like cracks that first morning, and people are shooting sheep. But like, that's one thing I've always wondered is how they handle that situation too, because you have a quota of 1 or 2 sheep, you could have 100 people hunting in the unit. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm assuming they do some kind of like program where you could be set up with a Garmin where they can do like a satellite blast, so that way but also at the same time you got to imagine, even if they're confiscating the animals, you know, if an extra one is shot or something, which I'm assuming they're probably confiscating those animals, they're probably like prepared for that in terms of the fluctuation of the population. Like, they're not going to set the quota to be so high that if 1 or 2 animals were over, that it would be like damaging. You know what I mean? So I think that they're probably not terribly concerned, but I'm guessing you probably get your animal taken. I don't know that you'd get in like legal trouble, but
at the same time, so I guess I don't know how they do it for that, but like North Dakota, Matt said they update it every day, not like every hour or something. So
it might be every hour.
Yeah, I guess we'd have to look into it. But
I got it right here. The ignorant. I did some research. It's last updated for Zone 1 was 11/24/25, and that was early season, which and then Zone 1 late season is actually still open. It was last updated 1/28/2026. For those of you watching, the harvest limit is 7 or 3 females, and there's 3 males and 1 female.
Okay.
So they updated.
Oh, sorry. The harvest limit is in Zone 1 late season, which is what we're in right now, 7 or 3 females, and the date today taken, there's 3 males and 1 female. Sorry for all the numbers, but
okay,
that's all right. I got more. So
all right,
guys with hounds are waiting for snow.
Yeah, I would love to
Fresh
do that.
snow.
By the way,
well, in other news, we were talking last week about trucks and horses and Bentleys and stuff falling from the sky. It didn't quite happen, but my dad just happened to get a truck this past week, so it's pretty close.
Oh, I did. That's right.
He's got a new
I wasn't
pickup.
even thinking about that.
That's right.
But yeah, so it's been
it didn't fall from the sky.
It's been an eventful week. No, it didn't fall from the sky.
Can you share what you got?
It wasn't free. It's nice though.
Chevy Silverado RST.
What year?
It's a 2021.
Very nice.
So yeah, I'm a little bit jealous. But moving on, I won't go there. Anyway, I had mentioned in the I believe it was episode 6, what we titled Teddy and Taxes, where we talked about Roosevelt and the different legislation that kind of funds a lot of the conservation that gets done now. I had mentioned the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation's website about why hunting is conservation. And in the spirit of, population control and management and funding that we're going to kind of be digging into, I just wanted to share some of those numbers that I thought were pretty cool. And this can all be found on their website. I put the link in the description of the other video. But so 1907, elk were at 41,000 in the country. Now they're over 1.1 million. White-tailed deer were at 500,000 in 1900. They're over 30 million today in the country. Turkeys were at 100,000 in 1900. And they're over 6 million today. And pronghorn were down to around 13,000 left in the 1920s. And they're, again, over 1.1 million today. And, it's no coincidence that legislation, the Lacey Act, the Migratory Bird Stamp Act, the Dingell-Johnson, the Pittman-Robertson, all of those laws, and among others, were passed between 1900 and 1950. So that's obviously where you see that turning point. And I think it's really easy to say from the outside looking in or from a non-hunter perspective, like, oh, well, that's just because there wasn't overhunting happening like there was, in the end of the 19th century. And to an extent, that definitely obviously helps. You know what I mean? When you don't have people just like mindlessly slaughtering wild animals and they actually have to follow some sort of regulations. Not that that stopped at all, because it still goes on today on occasion. But there was habitat that was destroyed. There obviously with pronghorn especially. I mean, these animals were completely exterminated from areas, right? And they don't just magically pop up back up out of the ground, even if you don't do anything to them. What I'm getting at is it takes money. Like they don't get back to these numbers in 100 years just by themselves. Maybe if there wasn't people around, maybe if we pulled everything out, maybe they could. It's hard to really say. But the point is, we're still here. So the money that's been put into it, and I think we mentioned this a little bit, it's about $896 million per year from license fees, taxes, etc., and then another $440 or so million a year from nonprofit donations to nonprofit organizations. That's on RMEF. I think it's based on the National Shooting Sports Foundation numbers. And so, that money plays a big role. Not overhunting, regulating the numbers, predator hunting. There's all these different things that play a big role. But I think people on occasion might still look at that and be like, well, now that the numbers are back, or in good shape, why can't we just leave them alone? Why do we have to keep hunting them, And I think that, on the surface, the easiest answer is just whether it's predators or prey species or whatever is dealing with overpopulation, ultimately. There's a number of other reasons, but that's kind of the biggest one I think a lot of people's minds will go to, especially as hunters. So I had a little story that I had heard a couple years ago. I couldn't remember the details, so I dug into it a little bit to make sure I had it right. But there's an island off the west coast of Alaska called St. Matthew Island. And in 1944, the Coast Guard, they had a base somewhere in that area. The Coast Guard dropped off 29 caribou on this island. And I don't remember exactly how big it is, but it's pretty small. It's out in the Bering Sea. It's very remote. It's just grass, and there's like the occasional polar bear and stuff like that show up, but there was no like established large herbivore populations. But essentially they dropped off these caribou as a food source. So they would have somewhere closer to get food without having to go to the mainland to eat.
Yeah.
And whenever their operations were complete, I don't remember exactly when it was, they just left them. Like they just left them there. 29 caribou. So like, okay, whatever, not a big deal. By 1963, so 19 years goes by, there was over 6,000 caribou on that island. By 1965, every single one of them except for 42 were dead. No human intervention whatsoever. Basically, and there's really no predation to speak of either. Like obviously predation wouldn't knock out that percentage in that amount of time anyway, but there was no predation, which is what allowed them to, balloon up to such a crazy number. essentially they ran out of food, and they had a couple hard winters in 1963, 64, and those things paired together, mostly the food, because caribou
don't survive.
are adapted to getting to those like tundra grasses and stuff with their hooves in the winters. They just couldn't survive. So controlled environment, really very little variables being changed at all.
Do you know the size of the island? Like,
I could look it up. I don't have it written down.
I think I've heard of this, and I always wondered how like, actually much land they were on.
I would have to look it up. But it's not very big.
Yeah.
And that essentially, for lack of a better term, like they basically took themselves out, right? They didn't belong there. And this is not to say that the animals that we're talking about here don't belong where they are now, but they're mixing with humans. And that kind of gets into the next area of this management problem or situation, is human interactions, which we've gone into a little bit already. I wanted to touch on another little story quick that I actually first heard from my dad here a few years back that I did a little digging into just to have some numbers on it, and he was pretty much spot on. But essentially it's the inception of the New Hampshire moose season. In 1988, the moose season began, and just from like anecdotal stories, it was largely because there was a lot of accidents happening and some really tragic situations that had happened. The moose were out of control. They're running everywhere. You were seeing them all the time. There's still a healthy population of moose up there, but it peaked, right around the same time. There was, I think the peak number of vehicle accidents in New Hampshire was, I've got it written here, is 1990. So it peaked right after the hunting season started. And that might sound like, the hunting didn't make a difference right away. Well, it doesn't generally, but also peak means it goes down on the other side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it could have just kept climbing, but that hunting season starts. These populations are being controlled. They're being kept in check. Population drops off. Now they're averaging about 68 accidents per year over the last 5 years. So that's talking about a little over a third of what it was just 50 years ago or 40 years ago. So that's just another thing. Like these populations, if left alone, they damage themselves. And if interacting with humans, they're going to damage humans too. And we're going to damage them.
Well, they don't just, so in the caribou example, they wipe themselves out, right?
I mean,
how many other species did they also wipe out?
Yeah.
Oh,
because
yeah, that's
it's
true.
not just the caribou that's living on that island.
I did find
there's migratory birds, shorebirds, waterfowl,
lots of probably small mammals.
Yeah, most likely. And so when they degraded the habitat to that point, the caribou did, then it has a ripple effect for a whole bunch of other species.
Right. That's a good point.
That's the other thing that people don't think about is they think just let them go, they'll be fine.
Right.
Well, it's going to have an impact. Could have impact on erosion, you know, so on and so forth. If you remove that vegetation to the point where it can no longer hold the soil. You see that with cattle. So it's not just the animal itself, which is what we tend to focus on, as people, is that one animal.
It's the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, great point.
And, the moose thing in New Hampshire, break for moose, it could save your life. There were signs like that. You've seen them.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure they have it on their website still, like that slogan.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad, and there was a group of people that formed the Anti-Moose Hunt Coalition, right? They didn't think moose should be harvested in the state, and so that was the fight. I was actually part of some of those debates with New Hampshire Fish and Game, and so it was pretty sad. And I will say this, is that to make a point, usually one of the hosts from the hunter side of these debates would say, hey, anybody who wants to help us learn more about moose and so on and so forth, come up here and drop a donation in the can. And if you're against the moose hunt, you drop a donation in this can over here. Well, guess what? The anti-moose hunt coalition, there was usually nothing in the can. But that other can was full. So, I mean, it just goes along with what you said.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
And hunters do it.
Hunters have done it.
1.4 billion a year, approximately 1.3, whatever that number was.
Yeah,
So,
and
we're doing
every population is going to be cyclical for a whole host of reasons. It's a cumulative impact. It's not typically just one factor. Obviously, overhunting could be, but the way game and fish agencies manage these populations, whether it's deer or sheep or elk or turkeys or whatever it is you have two things mortality. You have compensatory mortality and you have additive mortality. Compensatory mortality is those animals are going to die anyway from natural causes or whatever, right? They're not going to make it. Additive mortality is the amount that you would go over the ones that would naturally die.
So basically animals that would die from exceeding carrying capacity.
Could be carrying capacity. It could just be, they don't have to be at carrying capacity to get there, right? So what these agencies try to do when they're managing a population is that they set those bag limits so that they're inside of compensatory mortality. In other words, they're not adding to the normal annual mortality.
Unless they're potentially trying to eliminate disease.
Yes, that could be true. Yes.
And then other factors like would be, the birth rate, right? You'd have to add what's going to be the population growth within.
Well, that would be part of compensatory, right? They're taking into account the whole thing.
Oh, I gotcha.
And
Not just
then-
dying, but
Right. So if you look at fawn recruitment, right? They do I think it's every year we get the information when they do the deer survey. So they do the winter survey, and then I think they do
the fawning survey.
a fawning survey, right? So once that, let's say, antelope or whatever has made it to weaning, then their likelihood of survival goes way up. Unless you get a devastating winter, or something like that. But I mean, I've been out of this field for a long time, so I'm sure some things have changed, and they change constantly. That's what research is for. Is that I was told in college that wild turkeys would never be restored to the United States because there wasn't enough old growth forest. And if you look and Google it, the success of the wild turkey population, they'll talk about old growth forest, the lack of old growth forest. And I was told we would never get them back to historical levels because there wasn't enough old growth timber. Well, guess what? They live downtown. And so it's pretty astonishing. These animals are adapting. It wasn't that the research back then was wrong. It was that's all we knew.
Right.
And then as we researched them, and there was this huge effort. I mean, NWTF, they're going to get most of the credit for the restoration of the wild turkey.
The National Wild Turkey Federation.
Yeah, sorry,
Just for
National Wild Turkey Federation. Yeah. They really deserve that for the most part. And it's Pittman Robertson and everything, all that funding and those acts and so on. But they were the ones that,
led the
got
way
behind it and pushed it more than anybody else. I trapped turkeys that were moved to other states when I was in Missouri. So, which is a lot of fun, by the way. But
How does that work?
rocket net.
Really?
Yeah, so you have a box that's, I don't know, it's front of that box is, I'm going to say 30 inches wide, probably 14 inches deep or this way, and then 2 feet. And so you have a net packed into it. You have pieces of pipe that have charges in them. Like when you're transporting the charges, you have them in a cooler and you don't turn your radio on in the truck because technically it could discharge.
Yeah.
So then you have a detonator. So remember the old movies where you go boom like that, you know, to blow something up. This is just a little box where you charge it with one button, and the button lights up. Then you push the other one to detonate it. Mm-hmm. And what it'll do is it'll shoot the net up. And the rockets have, you know, these pieces of pipe that are propelled because you want them to go out and then come down. And then you have the same thing on the back because the net will actually slide. A little bit, not a lot.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just go right over top of them.
Yeah. And then the hard part is you set up we would bait them, right? You set up a triangle of bait. And so they come off the roost and they go right to that bait. And one of your big things is get that group of birds with every one of their heads down.
Yeah.
Which is hard with turkeys because, you know, you ever watch turkeys very long. There's usually somebody's looking.
Century, yeah.
Right? So you basically sitting there, you got it primed and heads down, bang. And this net goes out over the top of them. And then it's, you know, then you got to get busy very quickly. And the birds get tangled up and stuff and they're not beating themselves to death. You know, they get turkeys, chickens, things like that. If you can get a hold of their legs and turn them upside down real quick, they'll just relax. A little bit of flopping and relax. So we do all that and put
I didn't know
bands
you
on
ever
them.
did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Lake Jacomo Park, mainly.
Yeah, that's totally know where that is. No.
Oh, no, I forgot. Do
you know where your turkeys went?
No, I don't remember. I want to say Wisconsin, Michigan.
Really?
It was need to know information.
No, I mean, I knew at the time, but you're just catching the birds. But we took some video, and you've got part of the reason why we were trapping where we were trapping is because there was no season there. And so we had these huge groups of gobblers. And so normally the guys out in the country are shooting on 3 or 4 gobblers. We're shooting on 12, 15, 20 gobblers. And that was what we did, was we caught gobblers. And so we took some video, and this net goes out. You can't, like, it's over. You blink your eye and that net's on the ground. And we got video of birds beating that net, you know,
Getting out
15
from underneath.
feet away.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
It's like you see those videos all over the internet now of like deer dropping underneath an arrow.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll put like the dot on where the arrow impacts before it leaves, and it'll be like right behind the shoulder. And then by the time the arrow gets there, like 40 yards away, the deer's dropped 18 inches, and it goes over there. It's unbelievable. Like the fast twitch muscles are just
in 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, I mean it's. And then there's the whole debate of like which, you know, we don't need to get into this, but with deer especially, one thing that I've always found interesting is like a lot of people will say you should shoot when their heads are down because they're not as alert. But then at the same time, there's another argument that for auditory stimulus, they're more alert because they can't see as much.
So they're listening.
And it's easier for them to drop because their head's already down. Because when your head's up and you try to drop, you have to bring your head with you.
Down.
But when your head's already down, it's that. So some people are now saying it's better, even if the deer's alert, to shoot with its head up. I don't know. I haven't shot enough deer with my bow in that situation to.
We'll have another debate episode soon.
But yeah, that's an interesting one.
I never
unbelievable.
waited for their head to be down.
I don't think anybody paid any attention to that stuff. Now people are sometimes, I feel like, just looking for excuses.
But I also didn't shoot as far as a lot of the archery hunters do today.
Well, I think it's...
Well, you're shooting those silent aluminum arrows that were like, you know, the size of a nickel. And
they weren't silent. You could hear them.
I'm being very sarcastic. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the kind of the whole concept of that is how much are hunters studying the mechanics of deer movement and the knowledge that comes from, and the appreciation that comes from hunting an animal, right? Versus, you know, somebody that just takes a picture of it and goes, okay, great.
What I'd say is hunters need to,
if anything,
spend a little bit of time on the internet and learn a little bit about deer biology or turkey biology or pheasant biology or fish, whatever it is, before you start complaining about what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
You mean specifically how your state agency is managing a population?
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, because that's the biggest problem is, or at least when I was living that life, people, we had people complaining that the quail population was declining rapidly in Missouri. They said turkeys are eating them. Okay, so now, granted, if a tom turkey sees a bumblebee-sized quail that just hatched running around on the ground, they're going to grab it. They'll grab anything.
Yeah.
They'll grab a snake that's 18 inches
cracked
long.
open egg or something.
Yeah, anything, right? But they were blaming the turkey. So we literally had to do these public meetings and take people out and have them say, okay, you show me where a quail, we're going to drive around. You show me where a quail covey could survive for a whole year. And they'd stop at a tree row that was overgrown. No winter cover. Food, some trees, but no winter cover. No spring habitat cover. No brood rearing cover. And then you end up taking them to, we had to deal with that for probably 2 years.
Meaning you need a clearing or some.
Well, you need brood rearing habitat, variety of different species of weeds and grasses where they can walk because they're this big. Then they got to have food. They got to have hard cover for the wintertime when the weather's bad. All of those things combined, what was happening is ag practices were changing. Hedgerows were getting dozed out. A lot of that cover was going away and so on. But that's the thing is that these are hunters coming and, basically chewing you out as a biologist because, turkeys are killing my quail. It had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Because the turkey population was exploding and the quail population was declining. So 1 + 1 = 2. So dang turkey's eating the quail.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's, it's not necessarily to say that like everything that, everything the government says is gospel in terms of like habitat management, wildlife management. But the point is, do your own research and not just research of like, oh, I did a Google search and read somebody's Facebook rant about it. Like,
that's not
go to some scholarly articles. Like if you see something with .edu from a college, like chances are that's probably research, like legit research. Can't really say how great it is because you never know, but it's a better place to start than going on Facebook or Wikipedia or whatever. I mean, there's some things that it's good for, like you're looking up the size of St. Matthew Island off the coast of Alaska. Like that's perfect. What was that, by the way? Did you say you looked it up?
It's 137 square miles.
Okay. So it's pretty sizable, but I mean, 6,000 caribou is insane for that size of a island. But anyway,
I'd like to been there when there were 6,000.
No kidding.
Oh yeah,
Been part of the crew.
I was looking for that story because I couldn't remember what the island was called, and there were so many interesting ones of like different hunts or whatever that had gone on, and then there was one where it was like some pilot was flying over some area in like central Alaska or like north central Alaska, and he saw just like 50 dead caribou laying there, and he called like Fish and Game or whatever, and they ended up investigating it, and I think they found out that they were killed from a lightning strike that like hit like right where the herd was, and that was the group of the herd that was where the lightning hit, and it just freaking fried all of them. I might be wrong about that because I was just kind of skimming it because I knew it wasn't what I was looking for, but yeah, I was just like, apparently there's a number of stories unrelated that are caribou getting
Do you know if there's
smacked,
still
but
caribou on that today, or if they eventually just...
I'm pretty sure there's none. I think they went in and like finished them off in like the late 90s or something like that, or took the surviving caribou and because they were invasive. Like they brought them in, they were introduced, they weren't ever natively there because it was,
so far
200 miles out into the ocean or whatever it was. So maybe not that far, but something crazy like that. So, I mean, and there's a number of stories like that. I think that the more recent animals that have been introduced in the U.S. for the most part have been kind of well managed. Like you don't have a lot of mammalian species that are just like running rampant. Water's a little bit different. It's harder to deal with, mussels and carp and things like that. And I know there's a bunch of weird species in like the Southwest, Texas, New Mexico, but those things are relatively contained. Like there's an ibex on a Meat Eater episode. They were talking about it where it's just one mountain range.
That's on the Air Force Base or something, right?
I don't know if it is, but it's something like that. It's really weird. But anyway, I digress. I think the quail thing was a great segue into another point about the whole management thing, which is it's not only about the animals, but about the habitat. And this can go so many different ways. Like, what comes to mind, floods, wildfires, there's habitat conservation, like what NWTF has done for the wild turkey, what Ducks Unlimited has done for wetlands, what the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation has done for, the mountains, essentially, where elk can be. I mean, they're basically the reason that there's elk, in in Appalachia now. And then Trout Unlimited's another one. I mean, they're dealing with dam removals and all kinds of different things all over the country to try to structure those streams correctly so that trout can be back in their native areas and, travel and all these different things. So, I mean, it is a very intricate process, and there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just as simple as like letting nature run its course, as we've said before, because I mean, it's going to run its course, and that course is going to run into us, or we're going to run into it, and then things are going to get messy, as they have. I mean, that goes to which we've touched on too, the grizzly bear conversation. Like that's something that literally gets messy. That's a big proponent or importance of predator hunting and predator management. Is a lot of people think of it as like controlling populations or helping the prey populations not be over predated. But at the same time, like especially with those larger predators, you're also, reducing human interactions by removing some animals from the population. However, you're also training those animals. Like when those animals have encounters with hunters, that creates, in some cases a fear. And over generations, I don't know what the studies say. I didn't get any actual articles on it, but like, I think that fear somehow gets passed to the point where these animals will stay away from humans more. You know what I mean? They will steer clear if they think they're going to get shot at. What's that?
Just nothing. I was thinking about something in a term, and I was right. So go ahead.
Okay, there you go.
There we go. He's right. That's all I care.
I was just happy with myself. I'm sorry.
Good. No, that's fine.
We encourage self-appreciation on this podcast.
Absolutely.
Well,
all good vibes.
One thing
you need to give me a hard time because I've given you plenty. So
it'll
come.
I appreciate it.
All right,
In
you
due
two.
time.
This isn't necessarily predation, but we've talked about this, and I appreciate the management practices, especially of the fishable bodies of water in the state. We've talked about this, but it keeps going up. The amount of, and if you haven't been out to the fish hatchery that we have at the Garrison Dam there, it's amazing what our state agencies are doing, and I mean putting walleye, northern pike, muskie in bodies of water that there would never be there unless they put them there, right? And again, that's all funded by taxpayers and hunters, right? So that's another one that if you appreciate those, and to Matt's point, that's an ecosystem. That's not just a game fish, right? That's a whole ecosystem that now can thrive based off of a portion of it being installed there. Mm-hmm. So that's
and a lack of management. I mean, that's how you get zebra mussels in all these lakes, is people aren't checking boats. Yep. They're not cleaning whatever it is they need to clean with whatever solution or alcohol or whatever it is they need to clean it with. And then in a summer, you have 25 new lakes, maybe more. I don't even know. It depends on where you go. If it was a place like Minnesota, you could probably get 100, that have a bloom of these mussels because, people make mistakes. They got here somehow. Attention. It doesn't really matter how they got here. They're here. Mm-hmm. So we got to deal with it. Yeah. We can't just sit back, or else all of a sudden you can't put walleye and pike and perch and whatever else into those new places where they haven't been before because there's no habitat.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have the microorganisms because you don't have the substrate for the microorganisms to survive, so your baby fish can't.
Right. It's a chain reaction.
Yes. And I don't think a lot of people understand that there's big pike in here. Well, or walleye or whatever. Well, there's a reason why they're there. Not just because the state put them there. It's not like you throw them in a puddle and all of a sudden they're a trophy-sized fish.
Yeah, there's a reason that they survive and thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could put a walleye anywhere, but
Is it going to reproduce?
Die.
Is it going to reproduce?
Right. Right. And I think another thing I wanted to touch on, I know him and I have talked about quite a bit, but fires is a pretty controversial topic.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you have fires like the Palisades fire, I think is what it's called in California last year, where you just got to put the dang thing out because it's going to kill people. It's going to destroy homes. And I have no issue with that. I'm going to talk about fires and putting them out and not putting them out and whatever. And obviously people have heard of prescribed burns and all that, and that's great. But I fully recognize, like, some fires, you just got to put them out as fast as you can. That's all
understood. Agreed.
But I think that in a lot of places, and I'm obviously not a part of forest management. I haven't been in these states, so, but a lot of these western states, like, that have these really bad fire problems, every fire that hits the ground, they have a great system for tracking them, finding them, locating them. They immediately try to put them out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like...
Not as much anymore.
Well, yes, but that's what resulted in so many of these, like, tinderbox areas that have been blowing up these, 100,000-acre fires and stuff. I think, like you said, they're starting to realize that that's not best practice. But for so long, it was like, we're just going to put these fires out because we don't want them to burn because they're dangerous because, fires are spicy, whatever.
I think part of it was public opinion. You're killing,
for sure.
You're killing the trees.
And smoke. And
most people don't understand that fire might be the best thing that happened to that habitat.
But it has to be the right kind of fire.
Well, yes, and just, with temperatures being different than they were before, it's warmer, et cetera, and you haven't managed the forest, you haven't thinned the timber through mechanical practices, and then when a fire starts, it crowns, and a crown fire is very, very difficult to control or stop.
Mm-hmm.
There's been stories the last few years of some of these big fires or portions of them hitting a place that was managed and coming back to the ground.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to the ground, then it can be managed. You can fight that fire, but when it's in the ground, they're going to dump retardant and water on it. But
I think I know what you mean, but what do you mean by fire crowns? Can you explain
when it goes
that?
up into
the treetops,
canopy. Right. I don't know what the speed is, but a tall grass prairie fire, for example, so tall grass prairie, tall is 6-7 feet tall, it can go 40 miles an hour.
Yep.
Right. So think about something that's crowning up in
the treetops, in the wind,
and how fast that
you have
that
updrafts.
Go and,
it can go up a slope in seconds.
But it's grizzlies, it's wolves, it's trees. People get it's like they're a person, now there's all these advertisements about feed your dog the same food that you feed yourself. I'm sorry, but no. It's a dog.
Yeah, we got
you
people
can
starving.
love it, and I've had a couple that I broke my heart when they died.
I agree.
But, I just think we get out of control with it. Then we name these animals. As soon as you name something,
You humanize it.
you humanize it, right?
Yeah, just name
So
your
the
dog
wolf-
dog and be tough.
What's that?
I said just name your dog dog and be tough. No softness.
No, 10 years, man. You can't have something for 10 years and not love
No,
that
no.
thing. That
Well, the
hurts.
first time we got chickens, we got laying
I know.
birds.
What were they? Chicken 1, chicken 2?
No,
Chicken
no,
3?
no. There were 2 roosters,
Oh, yeah.
and we explained to Ryer and Allie, they were little, kids were little, that, we're gonna butcher these roosters.
Yep.
We're not keeping the roosters.
I think we had the same conversation with the lambs too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Around the
And
same
so
time.
Pam Ryan Alley's mom, my
Yeah.
wife, she named them Saturday and Sunday. Saturday dinner, Sunday dinner. And then she was upset with me because when I packaged them, I didn't write Saturday on one package and Sunday on the other package. She didn't know which one was which. Anyway.
What did the lambs get named?
Oh, that's even
Oh,
better.
that's... I don't know.
You don't remember the first two? The ones you had to catch out of the back of the guy's pickup?
Racco and...
Racco and Lego.
Lego.
Racco Lamb and Lego Lamb.
Yeah.
So we started out, they said, hey, don't name your animals because you're going to get attached and they're going to you personify them is essentially what we're getting at. But we found the perfect middle ground.
Personify
Thread the
them as
needle.
food.
We now name our animals, but every time you say their name, it makes you think about the fact that you're going to eat them.
Yeah.
So it
Brilliant.
worked out pretty good.
How about were the roosters like, we just, we could tell a lot of stories about
They didn't get old enough to be
they
nasty.
mean and, oh man.
One of them was Saturday was kind of a jerk.
I thought that was...
Because that was, remember, he came after you when we were butchering and you grabbed him and you said, all right, you're first.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Because Sunday was the big pretty one, the
Yeah.
Silver Lace Wyandotte or whatever. He had
Yeah.
to, He was cool, but the other one was,
But
Yeah, there's always one of those.
as soon as
Right.
what was the name of the wolf? Rising Sun?
Yeah, right. Yep. Rising Star.
Rising Star.
Yeah.
What kind of stupid name is
That
that?
was the wolf's
Well-
name. I thought, I didn't pick up on it.
Yeah, it was something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I thought it meant
'Cause I know they
it
have
was saying the
numbers.
wolf
Yeah,
was
they
a
had-
rising
yeah.
I thought
star
that's what they were saying
in the
too. They were
community.
saying that the wolf was like a rising
Now
star.
that I think
like
about it-
Which-
getting more
now that I
popular.
think
Okay,
about
so
it,
let's
it had
say the wolf-
it had-
Either way, I mean, you're
Yeah.
still kind of doing the same
Let's
thing.
say the wolf's name isn't Rising Star, and it's like you say, it was a rising star.
It's almost
we are-
worse.
Explain
it's like
that
watching
to
a
me.
reality
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
It's almost worse.
Well, it's a weird thing because I will say there is something to be said for those documentaries where they follow these wolf packs and you can see these behaviors that you would never see unless you're following these things like
Oh, yeah.
day in and day out for extended periods of time. And wolves are incredibly smart. Like they have interactions that resemble some of the things that people might be feeling or thinking just based on their actions. But there's no way to like actually say that wolf's heartbroken because it's licking the other one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it looks like that to us because we're thinking in terms of like, what do we see when a dog does this or whatever? It doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is. So like, I will say, I think a lot of that rising star type stuff comes from those because they get a large crowd of people that aren't consumptive users or hunters or familiar with eating predators, the gruesome reality of the outdoors. Like I think that's where some of it comes from. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is like I think that there's good and bad to that because it's really beneficial to see that stuff. I think to understand the species and understand their interactions, their behaviors. Like you said, do your biology research. You can watch videos of deer where guys will break it down and they'll say, if a deer flicks his tail, it's probably going to take a step soon. Like observing those animals in detail for a long time is really helpful. You learn a lot about them, but you have to know when to draw the line. And I think that the park people do that in a good way, in a sense that like when they identify the wolves, from what I've seen, they identify them as numbers. This is wolf 872. Like it kind of keeps that like a little bit of distance to it. But then when you're at somewhere that's basically like a real life zoo, people are coming and they're watching these animals and seeing them in their, mostly undisturbed habitat. Like it becomes like a reality show for them. And nobody told them in most cases to draw that line.
Yeah, I think that the documentaries that they make in Yellowstone and all these other parks are definitely a good thing. Obviously, they expose, hundreds of people, millions of people to, the sides of these animals and obviously all that. But I think there's definitely some negatives to it, and one of those being that people get attached to these animals. And like wolves, elk, deer, if they step out of the park, they're huntable. And I think a lot of people don't conceptualize that because they see them on the screen and they think they're in this, magical, protected Wonderland.
Utopia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely negatives to it. Obviously, there's a lot of positives.
Well, and the human,
But that's with anything.
national parks are amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
we've talked about that. We're super blessed, but especially when you're looking at Yellowstone, how many people visit Yellowstone every year? versus
Millions.
how many people visit the Bob Marshall Wilderness, right?
A few crazy ones.
Yeah, and then they're right next door to each other, right? And you can hunt Bob Marshall, right? So
Yeah, it's a few hours. It's probably 5 out, maybe 5
Is
hours.
that-
It's a lot closer to Glacier.
I'm thinking of Glacier.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking of Glacier.
Either way, though,
Yeah,
same point's
concept.
true.
Yeah. And so what is our interaction that we're having in those? Not that it's a bad thing that you're in national parks and you're observing wildlife, but as Matt went on a little rant a couple episodes ago, don't be stupid. They're still wild
Right.
animals, and don't be dumb, right?
Right.
Appreciate them from afar. Maybe is the point.
Nature's brutal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
Nature's brutal. And, it's kind of like just grizzlies and bears in general, blacks, grizzlies, whatever. Those boars, if they find a sow with little cubs,
Mm-hmm.
they kill the
Kill 'em.
cubs.
Yep.
It's not Fluffy.
Yeah.
He's not Fluffy. Fat Bear Week. He's not this roly-poly thing.
I've seen that.
that you
have
could
no
just
idea
go
what
up
he's
and
talking
pat,
about.
like the
we'll
person's
explain
fat dog
afterwards,
at
'cause
home
that's funny.
sitting on the rug. If that bear gets a chance at those cubs that came out of the den, he's going to kill them
Yeah.
because he wants to spread his genetics, and by killing those cubs, she'll come into estrus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so brutal that in a lot of ways, they don't even know if they're their cubs. Like
Yeah.
the cubs they sire.
Yeah.
They could kill their own
Mm-hmm.
just because they're going to, instinctively generally assume that they're somebody else's.
Yeah.
So,
And then these people, like we talked about, I won't go into it, but they get so close to these animals. I don't care if it's a buffalo or an elk or a deer. Or
Moose.
I've had my butt whooped by a deer. Trust me, you don't want it.
Really?
Oh, yeah. At the research facility.
I could see that.
That'd be a story for another day.
well, I think that it's easy to listen to somebody talk about this kind of stuff like we are and say like, oh yeah, those guys don't really care about the animals. The person that's like doting over this wolf,
Yeah.
is the person who really cares. And I think that it's not to say that the other people that are personifying these animals or thinking they're all lovey-dovey or whatever, wanting to protect them at all costs, no matter what. It's not that they don't necessarily care about the animals. I think it's a lot of times it's probably from more of a place of ignorance, in the sense that like I think I know what's best for this animal, and what's best for it is for nobody to go near it and nobody to touch it, and for it to be in a safe little padded box, or whatever for the rest of its life. Like I appreciate the sentiment of like, I want to protect these animals. I want these animals to be safe. I want them to be, I am more of a, as we've talked about, as a Christian, we've been given dominion over these animals.
Amen.
We've been given the,
Responsibility
and the availability of them to consume, to eat, to raise, to do work for us, pulling plows or whatever million things animals can do. Like that's why they were put here. And to me, that's not to say we should go stomp around and destroy the woods pursuing these animals. Like I am all for leave no trace. I am all for like, not starting fires when you shouldn't, like being responsible in the outdoors. Absolutely. And
Fair
I think that we
chase.
can all find fair chase. I think we can all find common ground on that. But I think that when you realize that sometimes managing the population is what's best for the animals, that's when you can start to get over the hump of like, oh, these cute and cuddly things have to be protected and none of them can die, because you realize like, okay, sometimes what's best for the animals is not the pretty thing. It's not the thing you see, on the photography or whatever online, with the filters and all the stuff, And you'd think, like, I grew up watching those Nat Geo documentaries where there's, a bear or a polar bear with a seal in its mouth and it's all blood and guts and all these things. Like, you would think more people would have seen that and been like, yeah, this ain't no joke, And a lot of the ways that these animals get harvested is a lot more humane than the way they die naturally.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you see videos of online if you were in
Watch
that
a
kind
wolf
of
kill.
community. Yeah, wolves will be
Coyotes worse.
ripping
Yeah.
coyotes ripping the legs and the sides and big chunks of hide, and you see these pictures of animals that get away and they look like a zombie, half their
Yeah.
body's missing. Like, not every shot is perfect, but the majority of shots, especially from guns, but from well-placed shots with a bow too, they're going to cause that animal to expire in a quicker and more painless way than they would almost definitely die naturally. So, like, if that's your concern that they're suffering more when they die
Yeah.
naturally, generally. You know, unless a boulder falls and squashes them like a bug, like, but, or something like that.
Or a golden eagle dives at.
I've seen videos of that. That's cool.
Sheep,
And then
Right.
they pick them up and I've seen.
knocks them off the cliff.
Yeah.
Then cruises down
Or they pick up the lambs
because
and,
they're
like,
already
yeah.
tenderized when they get down there. And I just want to be clear. I wish there was grizzlies in more places. I wish there were wolves in more places than there are today. But the only way I wish that is if they're managed. Meaning, you know, once they get to a certain point where they're starting to have a negative impact, they're hurting people, they're affecting people's livelihoods, et cetera, Game and Fish and the feds are going to manage those animals to the best of their ability so that they don't hunt them to extinction. They're not going to open the doors wide open and say, kill all the grizzlies that you want to.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Well, and who are they going to call upon to implement the management that they research and find is best for the population? Hunters. I mean, obviously habitat, you know, restructuring, you know, whatever it is, restoration, all those kinds of things. There's a lot more that goes into that. But in terms of like direct human to animal intervention, like not habitat, but directly to animal, hunters are the tool. You know, that's essentially what we are. I mean, you could Google it. Like, you can be as anti-hunter as you want to be, and that's great for feeling that way, whatever. But type it in Google, is hunting conservation? And, you know, everybody's listening to AI these days because it scrapes the whole internet. I checked it today. AI will tell you that it is vital to conservation practices. So if that works the way that it's advertised, that's like the synopsis of most of the popular links or whatever that you see. They're all saying the same thing. Not all of them, I should say. The majority of them are saying the same thing. It's not because, you know, we're compromised, whatever, the government capture, whatever. It's because it's true. Like, it just is. You know, if you take people away, then absolutely no management is the best policy.
Yeah.
Just let nature do its thing. But we're going to be here, so we have to correct our own interruptions, essentially.
All right. Because you don't know, Fat Bear Week. I don't remember.
He's just been waiting.
He's
I
been
was
waiting.
wondering.
Thank you.
I
I
was
forgot
wondering what he was.
I got it pulled up because I couldn't remember which park does it or national.
Kodiak.
Yep. Or
Yellowstone.
No.
No.
Katmai National Park in Alaska.
Katmai.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Essentially, it's a March Madness style tourney in like the fall, and they take trail cam photos or videos that they've captured, or whatever, of all the bears in their park. And they don't name them. They make sure they keep them. Well, some of them have like a nickname, and then they put the number after it. But there's always a number in there, so they're not like, you know, fully attaching people to these bears. And it's an online vote, and they post the pictures, and they have like, I don't know how many bears they have entered, but it's like 32.
It's a bracket.
Yeah, it's it's like a full March Madness bracket, and it's like 64 or something, and it goes in like sets of 2. So like each bear will play each other for a week, and people on the internet just vote on it.
It's like whoever gets the most likes wins the
fat bear hunt
and moves to the next bracket.
to play or to.
And you want to
face
be
the
a
next-
chubby bear is what is what.
Yeah,
you're
you're
going
voting
for.
on which bear you think is the fattest. looking.
Just Google Fat Bear Week. You'll
I
see
think
it. There's
that's-
stuff all over the
this
place.
year, the bear that won was called 32 Chunk.
I think that's biological.
He beat 8.
Because if you don't know anything about bears, you're like, which bear do I like the best? That one looks like it can kill me the least. Yeah. It's really fat. So that's my favorite. I think
That's
that's
the
where that
slow
comes
one.
from.
That's
that
the
skinny
slow
one,
Yeah.
that one's going to come running after me. And
He looks hungry. Yeah.
Exactly. That's where I think that's
that
from.
fat bear can run like 35 miles.
Or
an hour.
Oh,
look at a
yeah. It's
different
not going to
way.
help you at all. You just think it is.
I think that skinny one's a bad hunter. You know.
Exactly. Well,
Who
it depends
knows?
on how you
No,
look at
that's
it.
the
Yeah, who knows?
hungriest one.
Yeah.
That one knows how to get
That's
food.
why they
Yeah.
say inland grizzlies are worse than coastal brown bears which they're both grizzlies. It's just brown bears. Coastal bears are brown bears. They eat salmon all the time. That's
I was
why
gonna say
they're a
I've
lot
heard
bigger.
I've heard that eating coastal bear tastes worse because, or wait, no,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, coastal bear tastes worse than inland bear because coastal bears eat more fish than inland bears do.
And a lot of dead fish.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
I've
because
never
you
eaten
said
any bear.
eating,
I can help you with that.
Ryer made
Oh, yeah.
some bear brats
I had
last
some.
weekend. Yeah, your first
I haven't
time.
made them yet, but yeah. Well, we ate some. That was good.
Your first
Patty.
time ever having
Yeah.
bear.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think?
It was real good. Like, I mean, you could have served that to me, and it was bratwurst, right? You know, but it was good. I mean, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't
Unless
have
you've
thought.
eaten bear,
Whole
without any
bear.
seasoning or anything like that, you wouldn't notice the flavor, but it's there.
Yeah.
That's why I liked it so much, because you could taste the bear, and that was just, and he just stopped and picked something up because we forgot about it.
Yeah.
Is there a big flavor difference between black bear and grizzly?
I
never
know
had
I
grizzly.
haven't eaten grizzly.
Guess we'll never know.
Well, we
I
might.
know there's-
Who knows?
I would love to
What
find
about
out.
your bear hunt? Is that sidetracking us?
No, it's probably June. I don't know exactly when. I'm waiting to hear from my counterparts.
Wasn't that a black bear hunt?
Was it going to
yeah.
be black bear? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's any grizzly hunts in Canada.
Really? In British
I'm
Columbia?
fairly
Columbia.
certain that there's like a little bit of like an uprising about it.
There's got to be some in British Columbia.
I don't know if there is.
Oh no, I've been seeing stuff. I
There's
think
people
British,
are mad.
British
From
Columbia.
what
I
I've
think
seen,
you.
but
I'd have to look.
maybe
it
there
up.
is a
I
hunt
think
that
you
I'm
can
not
in
aware of.
British Columbia, but
I was gonna say like Saskatchewan and stuff I could see, but like I almost bet British Columbia.
Well, I don't know
have
if you're
some
going to have any
sort of
grizz in Saskatchewan, but
That's
Does
what I'm
it go
saying.
that far?
Like I could
Okay.
see there not being a season in Saskatchewan, but in British Columbia, I could.
Worth a
I don't
look
know.
up.
I'd
Yeah.
have to look it up.
But yeah, so hopefully I'll have more bear. I actually got asked the other day by some people at my office. We're gonna do it. We do like these little lunch potlucks every once in a while. We're gonna do like a Chinese, like Asian food kind of one on Friday. And one of them messaged me. He's like, "Hey, come stop by my office." It was like right around lunchtime, and I went and walked over there, and he goes, "Is this all right with you?" And he shows me the list of what everybody's bringing, and he had put me down for Chinese broccoli bear. So I got to figure out some like Asian style, Chinese style, like broccoli beef type recipes in a slow cooker or something with bear, because they all want to try it. Everybody's
Yeah.
excited
Well,
about
what's
it.
the
so.
comparison to like if you had to compare bear to like a regular meat as like viewed by society? What would you?
It's a mix, in my opinion. I'd say it's a mix between like a red meat and a pork. It looks more like a red meat, kind of like textures a little more
Yep.
like a red meat, but the flavor, the smell, and the way you have to cook it's more like pork. That's the way I would describe it. Which I've also heard the same
I
about
was just
mountain
wondering.
lion.
It has its own
I haven't eaten it, but
Yeah.
taste,
I- I
right?
was
yeah, it's
gonna
very
say-
unique.
It's
Yeah.
it's unique and not in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it has its own flavor.
Yeah, and that's with most meat.
A lot of people complain about it being greasy. I don't really get that. I mean, the fat is really greasy. That's why a lot of people will render it and use it for like actual like cooking fat, like oil.
Waterproof your
Isn't there
boots.
a difference between like
But-
spring bear and fall bear? For
Well, spring bears
Yeah.
generally don't have any fat
yeah,
because
that's
they're
what I'm
coming out
saying.
of
So, like,
hibernation.
if
Fall
you were
bears
to
will
shoot
have
a
some.
spring bear. Is that any less greasy? I guess
I don't know. Some
could
people
say.
say that like if they're in berry heavy areas,
they're sweeter.
the meat tastes different and the meat actually is like darker. Like in
Yeah.
Montana where I was, like these bears would get into huckleberries and you know blackberries and things like that or whatever they have up there. And huckleberries I know for sure, and they would the meat would supposedly, if you shoot a bear in the spring because they're eating so much of that stuff, it would look like purpley sometimes. Like the meat would actually be darker. I don't know how true that is because I never shot one out there. I missed some, but anyway, it's interesting.
So
Yeah.
bear meat would be greasy if you didn't take the fat off it.
Yes,
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I understand that.
the fat is not generally the kind of fat you want to eat. Like
No.
not like you would have on like a ribeye.
Oh yeah, obviously.
You know, you're
it's-
not gonna. it's
I
not
like
the-
fat and
Yeah.
not bear fat.
That's the
Yeah.
main difference between bear and pork. other than just general taste, is pork fat is like you gotta have it.
Yeah.
Bear fat.
No,
I saw a
thanks.
picture of it when I was looking at recipes yesterday, and this person had like some chunks of bear in like a skillet, and they had like thick fat on the edges. I was just like, that's probably why people think bear is greasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, bear's one of those things you don't want when you butcher it and package it, no bone, and get rid of as much fat as you possibly can.
Just like venison, trim it up same way.
It goes
lean, no silver skin, no fat.
It goes bad really fast.
But yeah, so I'm gonna do that.
Of course, we didn't have vacuum sealers back in the day.
I feel like most wild game, the common practice is to trim the fat. Well, depending on what you're going to do with it. But I'd say the common practice is to trim the fat off. And the silver
I
skin.
would.
Any venison, yeah.
Yeah.
Get it off.
You know, I saw a bunch of stuff. I was looking at some meat processing stuff. A bunch of people were saying that they leave like the fat on their deer when they grind it, and
I don't know if
because
I
it
agree with
adds
that.
more like flavor or whatever. But then just as many people were saying like, I've done that and it doesn't necessarily taste bad, but it leaves like a greasy film in their mouth.
Yeah.
Even eating like ground stuff. So I don't know. That might be something to experiment with. But
Kind of like
other
tallow.
people can experiment because I'm
Yeah.
good. I don't really need to find out. But that's
Yeah, no,
exactly
thanks.
what it is it's that there's a word for it. Like it's a certain type of fat that is rendered into tallow.
Visceral fat.
Yeah,
Inside.
No, it's a different. There's a different word for it. I don't remember what it is. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, just to loop this back around, we haven't talked about faith at all. So I wanted to get a little bit of that in there. I think that the main connection for me is that faith, your life with God, the church, is very similar to wildlife management in the sense that you can't really just let it go and think that everything's going to go right. You got to stick
Absolutely.
with it. You got to do things to make things better because in the wildlife situation, you know, the analogy is the humans are interrupting and screwing things up, right? In the faith situation, that would be sin.
Absolutely.
Sin is there. It's always going to be there. It sucks. It's the worst, right? And that because it's always there and it's always getting in our way. You know, God has this path for each and every one of us. That sin is constantly knocking us off the path in all kinds of different directions. So it takes active management to stay on that path. And if you just think, I'm just going to let nature run its course, I'm just going to let your human nature take over, you're going to end up in a mess.
Amen.
You know, you might feel great, but how much good does that do you
the moment?
if you don't end up, you know, in heaven eventually, whenever that may be? So that's kind of, I mean, it's that simple really for the whole faith connection. And I wanted to just throw a couple pieces of scripture out there. Dan, I know you had mentioned one. There's really nothing complicated about this. So, you know, that same thing, like it takes active management, praying, going to church. One that comes to mind is 1 Thessalonians 5:14-17. We urge you, brothers, admonish the idle, cheer the faint-hearted, support the weak, be patient with all. See that no one returns evil for evil. Rather, always seek what is good, both for each other and for all. Rejoice always, and this is the key, pray without ceasing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only prayer, it's your actions. Be a good person. Go to church. Do what you're supposed to do. You know, follow that example that Jesus has set. And then the other one is that God sets an example for us in some ways, like Jesus, God, you know, one being the Trinity. They set an example for us in a number of ways. And one of those ways that relates to this, I think, is that God never stops pursuing us.
Yep.
And my favorite verse for that is Jesus' own analogy. In Luke 15, he actually makes two. The first one is Luke 15:4. What man among you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, would not leave the 99 in the desert and go after the lost one until he finds it? And then another version in Luke 15:8. Or what woman, having 10 coins and losing one, would not light a lamp and sweep the house, searching carefully until she finds it? So Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit, if we're lost, is going to keep trying to pull us
Pursuing
back
us.
in, to shepherd us back with the flock And it's just this constant pursuit. It's constant work. You know, if you're a shepherd, or, you know, you've ever driven or herded cattle, or you've even just watched a video of a border collie moving sheep or something like that, they never stop moving. Like, it's almost a constant. There's this one runs off that. That's essentially what God is doing with his people, his flock. And that's what we have to do for ourselves, and with help from God, you know, and that's pretty much that. It just came through really simply to me. Like, you can't just let things happen. You have to actively work.
Mm-hmm. And I think being purposeful with that relationship too, like with any relationship, whether, you know, your spouse, your best friend, whatever it is, you need to put time into that, right? Mm-hmm. You can't just, to your point, you can't just expect to have a vibrant spiritual life and never pray, never read God's word, never. And you know, we've all talked about this. Going off and spending some time by yourself with God is that's one of the biggest growths that I've ever had, right? You know, you're just quiet, you shut the world out, and you just go for a walk and enjoy that time. And that's such a you know, we've all talked about this, such a way that we all connect with God is out in nature, right? And being, but if you don't have time for it, you know, if you're always running here, running there, doing, you know, swearing at the people at the red light, you know, just slow down, right? And make some purposeful time. Take your Bible with you when the next time you go hunting, you know, or fishing, and you won't regret it.
Mm-hmm. Gentry, what do you think?
I think, you said it great. Faith takes work. It's not just to sit back and wait for things to happen or wait for God to, you know, come to you. You have to obviously put in a little bit of effort, clean your life up in places where it needs to be clean, you know, whether that's cussing, sinning, lying, you know, whatever it is. You have to work towards God, obviously, and obviously, you know, you will see the benefits of that. You will reap what you sow. Bible says that somewhere. I'm not a scripture genius. There's my scripture for the day. Yeah, I think he did great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got to work for it, man. It's like anything in life. It doesn't come easy. I'd say everyone in here and most everyone in whatever church you go to is going to tell you the same thing, and if they don't, they are not doing a great job.
It's like stubbling a blind, right?
Yeah,
you got to be thorough,
or killing a nice buck, or well, I guess catching a good fish. You kind of just got to be lucky.
Oh, come on!
I just made
no.
so
You
many.
have to hop around with the live scope for hours.
For hours.
Find that
Finding those
giant
weeds.
mark underneath the ice, and then that's
So Gentry brought this up, and this is a scripture that's been hitting me a lot lately, and I think it really fits well with what we're going through. It's Galatians 6:7-9. Do not be deceived; God is not mocked. Man, that's just bam. That for me, that it hits me right there. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. For he who sows of his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption, but he who sows of the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life. And let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. You know, right? Do the right thing. Love your fellow man. Don't pillage this world. You know, fair chase. And there's going to be eternal rewards for you there. Or on the flip side of that, if you're going around breaking the law, you know, going after myself and building myself up and caring about me only, that's not going to end well for you in this earth and in eternity. So
following God is not easy. You have to constantly make adjustments. You have to constantly evaluate that path that you're on. And you nailed it. It's just like the outdoors. It's fishing, it's hunting, is that you're constantly making adjustments. You're constantly learning through the process. You're constantly having to make those adjustments, and it doesn't always turn out exactly the way you think, you know, what you think you should be doing. because that's the human side.
Yeah.
But relaxing, opening up, and adapting and overcoming, I think, is the key. But I thought that's pretty cool how you summarized that. I like that.
Yeah, I literally I was thinking about it, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to, and I wrote down, and I just looked at the top of the page. I had written, no management is not management. And I was like, that works.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, so.
You know what time it is, man.
No, what time is it?
Oh, it's back to the week time.
I was thinking he forgot.
Last year's Fat Bear Week victor was.
All right. I've been liking the ones where I pitch them as trivia questions.
right.
So,
Yeah, it's been good.
yeah. What percentage of North Dakota's population hunts? And this is buying a hunting license. So, what percentage of North Dakota's population has bought a hunting license?
Whoa. And we're all going to say an answer this time before you say
Yeah,
it.
we're not going to do any 60 pluses this time.
37%.
I can't give higher or lowers now because that was
Yeah,
against the
yeah,
rules
yeah,
last
yeah.
time.
Good call.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I know it really ticked you off last time.
So I have a thought, but I feel like maybe I'm thinking about it wrong. I'm going to say 21.
All right.
It's
I'm gonna go-
surprisingly low. I know that.
Really? Well, okay. Well, I'm going to go with
Thinking
like
North Dakota.
I'm going to go with like 41.
Ryer was the closest, 19.3%.
So you know why I knew that is because if you remember from his fact of the week about Wyoming, they were the number one state per capita of license holders or license buyers, and it was 23%. That was their
I
per
forgot.
capita.
I wasn't
rate.
here last week.
So I was like, it has to be less than 23.
but I, did
I
listen
also
to it.
watched the episodes like 4 times each, so it kind
My
of
facts,
in
they
my
all
head.
string together. You gotta be there for the last one to get the next one. That's how we're gonna do it now.
That's crazy.
There you go.
Or as many. Well,
Well, Fargo's got a large
But
population.
here is something that's good though, is that it's somewhere, and we may have said this before, somewhere around 70% of the American public, though they may not hunt, doesn't have an issue with fair chase.
hunting. Yeah.
That's
you
huge.
start talking about the term trophy hunting, talking about high fences, stuff like that.
Get a little divided.
That drops
Yeah,
way
obviously.
down. But you think about that, 70%. That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, it's what our country was built on for a long time.
Well, no, I understand that, but just given all the stuff that we talked about
Oh,
today
yeah.
and other opinions and the humanization of I don't know if that's a word.
Personification.
Personification.
Or-
I think
Organ-
humanizing works just fine though.
I think
that's
organicy
absolutely
works
true.
too. I don't know. What
I think you
Definitely gonna be
spelled
the
it
name of
wrong.
the episode.
I don't think it has an E. I think it has an A.
I think you said it ended in Y.
Organ-issy. Organcey.
No.
Why?
That would be
Because-
organcy.
Organic A.
Our editor will figure it out for the title.
You should have come over and helped process meat because
That was a lot of fun.
there was a lot of, math was just the thing. That,
Math is not his strong suit. He gets that from me. So
but you'd have been entertained.
Man, that's just.
But
You were
spelling,
making
you're
fun
good
of him
spelling.
earlier for being the dumb one or whatever you said. I think that's what you said.
No, I
He's just,
said,
I'm
He
going
didn't
into
say-
two. I don't like math either. But
He
was
didn't
like a-
say dumb.
I said I thought he would know less about this topic because it was like a biology science related question that I had that I forgot.
I knew he didn't say dumb. I was just kind of trying to get him
I'm dumb in biology.
in the
that's what I
doghouse
said.
a little
He
bit.
drummed it up like my
He's
sister.
already
way out of
grounded.
proportion.
That's true. Yeah, no worries.
Oh man, now
Good to
Ella's
go.
gonna be pissed at you too. Digging a hole, man. Digging a hole.
It only gets better.
Now I'm grounded and my sister hates me. Gosh.
Well, I don't know if we mentioned it before, but we've got our first guest. I think the plan has been adjusted to 2 weeks from now, so it'd be episode
Yes.
11, I believe.
So you're taking.
So I'm up next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so Dan's got next week, but yeah. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.
Appreciate y'all.